Commander Kael Vyrn trusted rules. Rules kept fleets alive. But the warning on his screen felt like fear. Human insanity report: do not engage without extreme caution. Kael opened the attached file for 3 seconds. It was just short lines written by dead officers. Humans laugh when afraid. Humans repair broken things in the middle of battles.
I agree.
If a human says, "I have an idea," prepare for fire, noise, or both. Never corner them. Never assume surrender is real. The last line was underlined twice. If humans offer help, ask what it costs. Then accept anyway, every time. A broken distress signal hissed from the speakers. It was a calm human voice, breathing hard, almost amused. If you hear this, you are too close. Turn back. And if you won't, don't be brave. Be smart. On the main view, a human ship drifted near the Forbidden Vale, a region even dragons avoided. Its hull was scraped and burned, not like battle damage, more like something had tested it. No life signs. An officer said Calais did not look away. Humans do not die quietly. Boarding team now? Kael and 6 soldiers entered the silent ship. Their armor lights cut through a dark hallway. No engine hum. No alarms, only the slow creak of metal. A paper sign hung from a bent pipe. Do not open this door unless you like nightmares. They moved deeper. Tools floated in the air, trapped by failing gravity. More notes were taped to walls with gray strips. Plan A, run. Plan B, run faster. Kael did not like jokes in a dead ship. Jokes meant someone was still thinking. They reached the command deck. The door was half melted. Inside, the air was cold enough to sting. A small recorder blinked, using the last of its power. Kael tapped it. "This is Captain Rina Hale of the human ship Wayfarer 9, the voice said. "We found something in the Vale. It listens. It learns." A pause. "If dragons come, you'll want to stand in a perfect line. Don't. Rules are loud. Loud as food." Kael's scales prickled. "Food," he whispered. The lights flickered once. Shadow slid across the far window, huge, silent, wrong. It blocked the stars, then vanished. A soldier's voice trembled. "Commander, we should leave." Kael swallowed the urge, confirmed the threat. A light clink sounded behind them, like a coin dropping, then it repeated closer. Clink. Clink. Kael turned. The corridor was empty. The sound kept coming anyway, like a recording walking toward them. A side door burst open, and a human woman stumbled out. She hit the floor, gasping, blood dark on her sleeve. Her eyes were sharp, alive. She looked up at Kael and smiled. "Finally," she said, "you're late." Kael froze. "Captain Rina Hale, you survived." "Barely," Rina said, pushing herself up. "Listen, the Vale is awake. It copies minds. It uses fear." The ship shuddered. A warning light flashed on a dead panel. Powered by emergency cells. Core instability, 60 seconds. The dragon soldiers stepped back. Retreat training pulled at Kael's bones. Rina grabbed Kael's armored wrist. Her hand shook, but her voice stayed steady. "If you want to live," she said, "trust me for 1 minute. If you don't, you'll die doing everything right." Kael stared at the timer. 55 seconds. 54. The lights died completely in the black. A whisper slid into their minds, not words, but cold hunger. More minds, more songs. Kael understood the report at last. Humans were dangerous because they walked into the dark first. Asterisk. The dragon ship Vyrn's Pride drifted beside the crippled human vessel, both wrapped in silence after the explosion. Commander Kael Vyrn's claws dug into the deck as he stared at the human captain standing before him, Rina Hale. Bruised, bloodied, but calm. Her eyes reflected the faint glow of emergency lights. Kael's mind echoed the voice that had whispered. Through the dark moments ago, more minds, more songs. It wasn't sound. It had entered him. The same horror was in his soldiers' faces. Even dragons, creatures born from storms, looked shaken. Rina broke the silence first. "Good, you heard it too." Kael growled low. "What is that thing?" Rina glanced toward the black window. "We called it the Void Choir. It doesn't kill you fast. It sings until you think it's your own voice. Before Kael could answer, the lights blinked again. Vibration rolled through the ship like a heartbeat. The air temperature dropped. Even Kael's armor sensors started freezing. A dragon soldier yelled, "It's boarding us without breach marks." Kael snapped, "Form line formation defense stance." Every dragon took position in a perfect curve, shields humming. The corridor filled with silence. Then a hum not from machines, but from everywhere at once. The hull itself was humming like a living throat. Rina whispered, "That's not defense. That's music to it." Kael frowned. "Music?" She pointed at his soldiers. "Their armor rhythm, every movement feeds it patterns. You're giving it something to copy." One of the dragons screamed suddenly, dropping to his knees. His own voice came back from the shadows, mocking him word for word. "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid." Then the echo laughed. Kael roared, "Hold your ground!" Rina didn't listen. She ran toward the dark corridor. Kael's instincts screamed that she'd lost her mind. Human. Come back. She didn't. She aimed a small human device at the wall and fired. A flash of white-blue light burst like lightning. The sound vanished. The humming stopped. Rina turned, panting. "It hates sound spikes. That's why you need chaos, not order." Kael stared in disbelief. "You could have died," she said with a small grin. "But then it would have died too." Behind them, her engineered jocks crawled out from a maintenance hatch, smudged with oil and panic. "Captain, good news, we still have engines." Rina smiled faintly. "And the bad news? They might explode if I sneeze too hard." Kael's soldiers watched as humans, wounded and half-crazy, kept fixing things with bare hands. Even when a corridor vented fire, Rina and jocks charged toward it, not away. Nyx, the young dragon hatchling hiding behind a console, whispered to Kael, "Why do they run into danger?" Kael didn't answer. Minutes later, the sensors beeped again. Dozens of energy forms surrounded the two ships, moving like smoke and water circling, closing. Rina looked at the radar and sighed. "They're curious. They heard us think." Kael frowned. "We'll fight them." Rina shook her head. "No, you'll distract them." She grabbed her comlink. "Jocks, get ready to overload the stabilizers when I say the word." Jocks blinked. "That'll blow the engine." "Exactly." Kael snapped. "That's suicide." Rina smiled the way only humans could like. She'd already seen death and decided it could wait. Sometimes suicide buys time. And before Kael could stop her, she sprinted down the corridor again, past the broken door and toward the black hull. He followed against all logic. Outside, the darkness thickened. Through the window, Kael saw shapes, thousands of them forming a slow spiral. "Like an enormous listening ear," Rina whispered. "They're learning our rhythm. It's time to change the song." She pressed the trigger on her device. A burst of unstable power rippled from the human ship light, static, pure noise. The entire void choir screamed without sound and vanished, scattering like smoke torn by wind. Kael stumbled, eyes wide. "You won." Rina shook her head. "No, we paused them. They'll be back." Then her radio crackled. Eli's voice came through, panicked. "Captain, one of them got inside the Pride. It's mimicking your voice." Rina looked at Kael. "You need to trust me again, Commander, because the next thing you hear might sound exactly like me." The ship's lights flickered once more. Two voices echoed from the hallway. Both said, "Kael, don't shoot." He raised his weapon. Two Rinas stood before him. One smiled. The other did not. Commander Kael Vyrn stood in a narrow corridor with his weapon raised. Two Captain Rina Hales faced him under weak red lights. Same face, same uniform. One smiled like a dare. The other looked tired. Kael's soldiers held their breath. Hatchling clung to a railing behind them. Both Rinas spoke together. "Kael, don't shoot." Kael hated guessing. But the human insanity report had one rule he trusted. When humans are trapped, they do not beg, they solve. He lowered the weapon. "A little Rina Hale," he said. "Tell me the last line from your recorder." The smiling Rina answered fast. "Don't be brave. Be smart." The tired Rina shook her head. "That was the last clean line," she said. After the whisper started, I added, If it copies me, don't listen to my words. Watch my hands. Kael's eyes dropped to their hands. The smiling one kept her palms open. Still, perfect. The tired one's fingers tapped twice against her thighs. Maul. Nervous. Human. Kael stepped left and fired a stun pulse at the smiling Rina. She didn't fall like a body. She broke into black mist like smoke. The corridor went colder as the mist slid back into the dark. The whisper returned, stronger now, more minds, more songs. Nyx made a soft sound. Kael moved without thinking and placed himself between the hatchling and the shadow. Rina grabbed Kael's shoulder. "It's testing you," she said. "It wants rhythm. It wants rules. If you move steady, it learns your next step." Kael turned to his team. "Break formation," he ordered. "No patterns. No marching." The dragons hesitated. A lifetime of training screamed against it. But Kael took an uneven step first. The others copied him. Humming in the walls weakened. Jocks ran up carrying a box of wires. "Captain, I built a noise spike," he said. "It will hurt their pattern." "Good," Rina said. "We need ugly noise." They reached the sensor room. The screens were full of static, but inside the static, Kael saw shapes moving, like listening ears turning toward them. Rina pointed at the map. "It isn't just near us, spreading through the veil. It follows thinking ships. It loves fleets." Kael's chest tightened. "My emperor will send an armada, and that's what it wants," Rina said. Nyx stepped forward. "Can it copy dragons too?" Rina nodded. "Yes. It copies words fast. Feelings take longer." Kael stared at Nyx. "Then we use feelings." Rina met his eyes. "We use choices it can't predict." An alarm beeped on the comm panel. A new message forced its way through the static. The Imperial seal appeared. Kael opened it. The Emperor's voice filled the room. "Commander Kael Vyrn, seize the human captain alive. Return at once. If you fail, the hatchling will be taken into custody." Nyx gasped. Kael's claws curled. Rina leaned closer. Low voice. "The enemy isn't outside anymore. It touched your network." Kael's officer whispered, "Sir, that order was sent from the capital 10 minutes ago." Kael looked at the timestamp. It had arrived now, late like a trap. Another voice came through the speaker, perfectly copying Kael's own tone. "Obey. Bring her." Kael felt his stomach drop. The choir was learning faster than he feared. Rina cut the comm cable with a blade. "No more voices," she said. "From now on, we fly quiet." Nyx squeezed Kael's claw, shaking. The lights flickered. The comm screen showed one more line that Kael knew the Emperor did not write. "Sing for us, Commander *." Commander Kael Vyrn stared at the comm screen as the words burned in his mind. "Sing for us, Commander." He wanted to answer with fire. Instead, he killed. Every speaker on the bridge. One by one, his officers cut audio lines, ripped out panels, and sealed the comm bay. The ship became a silent beast, drifting through space. Captain Rina Hale watched him work. "Good," she said. "No sound, no patterns." Kael's jaw tightened. "The Emperor ordered me to seize you, I heard," Rina replied. "But you also heard the choir use your voice. That order could be clean, or it could be bait." Nyx stood near Kael's leg, eyes wide. The hatchling's tail twitched. With fear, Kael lowered his head to Nyx and spoke softly, face close so no one else could read his lips. "Stay with me." Rina turned to Jocks. "Show me the noise spike." Jocks lifted the box of wires. "It's ugly," he mouthed. Without audio, they used quick hand signs and a small text pad. Jocks typed. "IT makes random bursts, not rhythm." Kael nodded. "Random was good." A dragon officer, Lyra, wrote on a pad and slid it to Kael. "Emperor will track us. We must return." Kael wrote back, "If we return now, we bring the choir home." Lyra's eyes hardened. She glanced at Rina like a judge, not an ally. Rina pointed to the map screen. She drew a circle around an abandoned mining station near the edge of the veil. "We hide here," she said, using the text pad. "We test the enemy. We learn how it follows us. Kael signaled the helm to change course, slow and irregular. No smooth turns. No perfect angles. Minutes later, the lights dimmed again, not flickered dim, like something drank power. Frost crawled. Across the window frame, Nyx whispered, too quiet to hear, but Kael saw the words. Here. Rina pressed a finger to her throat, warning everyone, don't speak. On the far hallway camera, a shadow passed. Then another. The feed glitched. A message appeared on the screen in clean imperial font. Return. Deliver the human. Kael stared. There were no speakers, no antennas. The choir was inside their systems, not their air. Rina typed fast. It uses our networks. We go dark. Full blackout. Kael hesitated. A full blackout meant flying blind near the veil. One wrong move, and the ship could die. But staying lit was worse. He raised his claw and signaled, blackout. All lights cut. Engines dropped to minimal burn. The bridge became a cave, only one glow. Remain Nyx's small neck crystal, pulsing softly. The hatchling didn't know it was giving rhythm. Rina reached toward Nyx to cover it. Too late. The crystal pulsed once, and the ship shuddered like it had been touched. A new image formed on the central screen, powered by nothing they could explain. The Dragon Emperor, seated on his throne, staring straight into Kael's eyes. The Emperor's mouth moved, but there was no sound. Still the words appeared below his face. You will obey. Then the Emperor's eyes changed. They turned black, and a second line appeared. Or we take the hatchling first. Kael felt Nyx press against him, trembling. He looked at Rina. Her face was tight, angry, but focused. She typed one sentence and turned the pad so Kael could see it. Let them come. We set a trap. Outside the dark window. The stars shifted, something massive moved between them and the light, and a silent countdown started on the screen. 10. The silent countdown on the bridge reached 3, 2, 1. Nothing exploded, no alarms. Instead, the darkness felt heavier, and every dragon felt pressure behind the eyes. Like thoughts being pulled into music, Captain Rina Hale lifted her text. Pad and typed one word. Now.jx snapped open the wire box and slammed 2 clips together. Wild static jumped through the ship's power lines random. Ugly, unsteady. The pressure eased for half a second. Kael signaled the helm. Drift. No pattern. The pilot tapped controls in uneven pulses. The ship slid toward the abandoned mining station, a broken ring orbiting dead stone. Lyra blocked Kael and wrote with shaking claws. This is treason. The Emperor will burn us, Kael wrote back. If we return, we bring death home. Lyra stepped away. But Kael saw her glance at the sealed come. Bay. Fear made even dragons predictable. The docking arm groaned as it locked. No lights, no heat, only dust and cold. Rina moved first, limping but fast. She pointed at the station hub, then at Nyx's crystal, then at the wire box. Use the crystal. As bait, use chaos as a net. Nyx shook his head, wings tight. Kael knelt. You are not bait, he whispered, breaking silence for one sentence. You are the reason. Rina's eyes softened for a beat. Then she pointed outward. Risk or lose. Everything. Inside the station, jocks ran cables through dark tunnels, placing noise spikes like little mines. Each device would fire at a different random time, turning the station into a storm of broken patterns. Rina drew quick shapes on the pad, circle for the hub, arrows for the corridors, and a mark where Kael's squad would wait. At jocks, then at the ceiling vents. Jocks nodded and crawled up, hiding a spike above the main door. Then Rina pointed at Kael and tapped her own wrist twice. Wait, then strike. Kael wanted a clean plan, but she gave him something else options. If it copies my voice again, she whispered close, don't answer. Make me prove it. She showed him a hand sign, 2 fingers to the heart. Only the real me knows this. Nyx swallowed and stepped forward, holding his glowing crystal. under a metal grate. His claws shook, but he did it for Kael. Kael led the team to the hub. Frost covered the controls. The station's emergency power still breathed. A message appeared on the hub screen. Even with no network, open your throat. Sing. Kael felt his voice rising in his chest like a reflex. The choir was pushing the oldest part of him, obedience, Rina, stepped in front of him and slapped a strip of tape across his mouth, plain human tape, ridiculous and perfect. Her eyes said, "Fight the simple way." Kael almost laughed. The pressure cracked for a moment. In the next corridor, Lyra vanished, then returned, holding a small beacon blinking in clean intervals. Kael's blood went cold. A call signal. Kael grabbed her wrist. Lyra's eyes were wet. "We need the Emperor," she mouthed. "We need rules." Rina snatched the beacon and crushed it under her boot. The blinking died. The station shook. Dust lifted. A low vibration rolled through metal, searching for a beat. Nyx's crystal pulsed once. The choir answered. A shadow unfolded on the far wall, like a door into nowhere. Shapes slid out, silent and smooth, and every screen lit up with the same words. "Found you." Kael raised his weapon. Rina typed, "Calm as ice. Let it come closer." Asterisk, the shadows moved like smoke with a purpose. They didn't rush. They drifted, tasting the station's air, listening for patterns that were not sound but thinking. Kael felt them brushing the edge of his mind, searching for fear. Rina's fingers lifted. Silent signal. Wait. Kael's squad tightened behind broken consoles, weapons aimed. Nyx crouched under the grate, crystal dimmed beneath a cloth, but still pulsing like a tiny heart. "Found you." The words flashed again on every screen, even on dead panels. The choir didn't need wires. It needed attention. Jox's first noise spike fired above the corridor, an ugly blast of random static. The shadows jerked as if burned. The cold pressure in Kael's skull loosened. Rina's eyes sharpened. She mouthed now. Kael stepped out and fired. Dragon-stun pulses hit the nearest shape. It shivered, then split into two thinner shadows, slipping around the beam like water around a stone. Kael realized with a chill, it was learning during the attack. Another spike fired deeper in the station. Shadows twisted toward it, hungry for the new rhythm. Rina moved like she owned the darkness, dragging a metal crate across the floor loud. Rough, wrong. The scrape made no sound to the choir. It broke the predictability of motion. Kael's soldiers fired in uneven bursts, not like training. One dragon shot twice, then waited, then shot again. Chaos. The shadows struggled to copy it. Nyx's crystal pulsed again. The shadows turned. Kael's scales lifted. They were ignoring weapons. They were going for the hatchling. Protect Nyx. Kael hissed, voice low and tight. The nearest shadow flowed toward the grate, slipping through cracks that should not fit anything. Kael lunged and slammed a shield plate over the opening. Frost climbed his arms instantly. Rina grabbed Jox's pad and typed fast. "They want the crystal. We use IT." Kael's eyes snapped to her. "No." Rina didn't argue with words. She pulled the cloth from Nyx's crystal and held it high like a beacon. The glow lit her bruised face. Every shadow froze. Then they surged. Rina ran, not away toward the deepest hall, toward the station's old reactor room. Kael chased her, heart roaring. The shadows followed like a tide. She skidded into the reactor chamber. Broken machines surrounded a central core, dead. A heavy cylinder with a manual ignition lever still intact. Rina pointed at the lever and then at Jox's noise box. Overload. Make a burst so wild it would tear their pattern apart. Jox looked at the lever and mouthed, "That will melt the station." Rina nodded once. "Yes." Kael stepped between her and the lever. "This is suicide." Rina's eyes flashed. "If we don't do this, they follow us to your capital, to your emperor, to Nyx's nest." Kael felt the truth like a blade. On a nearby screen, a new message appeared in imperial font. "Return, deliver. The human, deliver the hatchling." Then, under it, a second line. colder. Sing, O are we take them. Kael's mouth went dry. The choir was not just hunting, it was ordering. Rina placed the crystal in Kael's claws gently, like she was returning something precious. Then she touched 2 fingers to her heart, the sign she promised. Real. She typed 1 line and showed it to him. I stay, you take Nyx. Live. Kael shook his head. No. Rina stepped back and pushed him hard. Jocks and 2 dragons grabbed Kael, dragging him toward the door as the shadows poured into the room. They were close now, thick as night. Rina reached for the lever. Kael fought, roaring, but the door slammed shut between them. Through the small window, Kael saw her lips form 1 last sentence. Humans don't quit. Rina pulled the lever. The reactor flared to life white, wild, unsteady. The shadows screamed without sound. The reactor flare hit the station like a silent sun. White light flooded the corridor windows, then collapsed into darkness. Commander Kael Vyrn felt the shock through the floor as if the metal itself screamed. He clawed at the sealed door until his scales bled. Nyx cried out, small and shaking. Jocks pulled the hatchling close and dragged him behind a support beam. The noise box in Jocks's hands sparked and died. Its job done. For a long time nothing moved. No shadows, no whispers. Drifting dust and the faint smell of burned wire. Kael forced himself to breathe. The human was gone. The plan had worked. He should feel relief. But his chest felt like stone. Lyra stepped near the broken hallway screen. New words appeared, slow and calm, as if typed by a patient hand. She is not dead. Kael froze. Lies, he whispered, then regretted speaking. The station answered with a soft vibration, like a throat clearing. Jax held up his pad and typed, It's trying to pull you back in. Kael nodded once. He turned away from the screen and looked at Nyx instead. The hatchling's eyes were wide, wet and brave. Kael realized the choir wanted attention, and he refused to feed it. He made a decision that would end his career. He signaled the ship to leave the station now. No salvage, no honor sweep, just escape. As the docking clamps released, the ship shook. A small service pod drifted out from the station's shadow, tumbling slowly. Its beacon blinked and weak, uneven. Pulse's Jocks's eyes widened. That pod wasn't there before. Kael's pilot wrote on a pad, Life sign. 1. Human. Kael's heart jumped so hard it hurt. They pulled the pod in with a tether and cut it open in the hangar. Smoke rolled out. Rina fell forward, coughing, face black with soot. She was alive, Kael. Stared as if seeing a ghost. Rina wiped her mouth and managed a grin. Told you, she said, voice rough. Humans don't quit. Jocks laughed and almost cried at the same time. Nyx ran to her and hugged her leg without fear. Rina rested a hand on the hatchling's head, gentle. Like she understood dragon hearts better than dragons did. Kael stepped closer. How did you survive that flare? Rina pointed at the pod and spoke softly. Old minor trick. Seal the pod. Vent the heat. Ride the blast wave out. Insane, right? Kael's mouth twitched. It was insane. And it worked. Before anyone could answer, the main ship screens lit with the Imperial seal. Kael's officers stiffened. They had no speakers, but the Emperor's face appeared anyway. Eyes like burning metal text formed under the image. Commander Kael, you disobeyed. Kael lifted his chin. He didn't bow. He moved 2 fingers to his heart, copying Rina's sign. Choice over fear. More text appeared. Deliver the human. Deliver the hatchling. Rina stepped forward into the camera view, calm and steady. She held up Nyx's crystal now, wrapped and dark. No, she said. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Final line formed, colder than space. Then watch your capital burn. Kael ordered the helm to turn away from the straight route home. He chose a crooked path through empty rocks. No lanes, no songs. If the choir followed, it would lose the trail. Rina met his eyes. We fight together, she said. Kael nodded, starting right now. On the star map, a black circle opened inside. The veil huge and slow, like an eye turning toward home. Asterisk, the black eye in the veil kept opening. On Kael's map, it was turning toward the Dragon Capital route. Slow and sure, like it could smell a crowd. Commander Kael Vyrn refused to lead it home. Took his ship and 2 escort wings to a dead moon near the Veil edge, where magnetic storms danced in wild, unsteady waves. No cities, no civilians, only chaos and empty rock. Captain Rina Hale stayed close to the map. It learns patterns, she said, so we stopped being one. Jocks brought a small case and typed 1 label on a pad. Broken song. It was a simple lure clean rhythm, then random bursts. And silence built to pull the choir forward and then break its grip. Kael cut all speakers and long comes. The fleet used hand signs and short text only. He gave 1 hard rule. Ignore any voice, any screen order, unless it matches his hand mark. The choir could copy words. It could not copy his choice. At the dead moon, the ship's screens flickered and wrote their own message. We hear you. Kael looked away and watched his crew instead. Fear made rhythm. He would not feed it. Rina's pod launched the broken song into the storm, the veil answered. The queen arrived like a giant shadow unfolding into space. Smaller shapes swirled around it. The bridge grew cold. Several dragons almost fell into training perfect line, perfect timing. Kael raised his claw. No line. The broken song pulled the queen closer, drifted after the pod, hungry for the clean beat. Rina's pod kept distance with uneven engine. Taps, never repeating the same pattern twice, then the choir struck at the mind. Kael's own voice appeared on the screen. Open fire, Rina's voice followed. Shoot now, the words felt real. The tone felt perfect. Some officers shook. Kael did not answer screens. He watched hands. Rina gave no heart sign, only steady eyes. Kael signaled, hold. The pressure behind Kael's eyes returned, pushing old instincts. Obey, line up, sing the rule song. Kael clenched his jaw until it hurt. It would not give the choir a clean thought to copy. Nick stepped forward, trembling. The hatchling pressed his wrapped crystal to his chest and made the heart's sin choice over fear. Kael understood the lesson in a single breath. Kael made his own insane move. He launched alone in a small fighter carrying Jox's second device. A 1-use pattern breaker that released pure random static. Dragons would call it reckless. Humans would call it necessary. Inside the queen's shadow, instruments failed. Kael stopped flying like a dragon and started flying like a human. Sharp turns, ugly angles, no rhythm. He slipped into the center and released the device. The pattern breaker burst. The smaller shadows scattered. The queen shuddered as its song fell apart. That was the opening. Rina fired a storm, layered charge into the magnetic field above the moon. The sky ignited into a wild curtain of light shifting, unstable, impossible to feed on. Kael's fleet struck on handmarks, scattered bursts, uneven timing.
How steady beat.
The queen tried to retreat into the veil, but hunger held it. 1 second too long, the storm flare swallowed it. The giant shadow thinned, cracked, and faded into harmless dark dust. For the first time since the veil woke, there was no whisper. Back on the bridge. Kael stood beside Rina and Nyx. His crew stared at him like he had learned a new kind of strength. A clean Imperial message arrived. Report update. Humans are insane. Alliance is required. Rina let out a slow breath. Nyx's wings relaxed. Then the screen flickered. Just once, and a final line appeared. Not Imperial, not human. We heard the insane song. We are coming.